Silver Dollar City's new for 2024 coaster, Fire in the Hole, cost over $30 million. And this coaster barely features 1,500 feet of track. So that $30 million price tag seems quite ridiculous. And you're probably asking yourself, why does a family coaster cost more than a Giga Coaster? Well, there are 3 reasons why this family coaster costs just as much as Fury 325. And the last reason why this coaster is so expensive will quite literally shock you. So let's dive in. Fire in the Hole is Silver Dollar City's new for 2024 RMC family coaster. This project was announced back in 2023 to replace the park's original Fire in the Hole attraction. Now this coaster is meant to be a family coaster, meaning that it is not super intense and is something the entire family can enjoy all at once. Now this coaster cost $30 million. And yes, there is theming and stuff, but it still seems crazy to think about. So let's start off with reason number 1 why this coaster costs $30 million. And that is the ride itself. RMC was chosen for the manufacturer of this family coaster. Now they didn't do the theming or anything like that, but they did fabricate the actual track that is featured on this coaster, along with the trains and the control system and all of that good stuff. Now RMCs such as Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City tend to be on the less expensive side, due to the fact that RMC does a lot of the work for the coaster in-house, meaning that they can do it much cheaper than other manufacturers such as say B&M. Now Fire in the Hole in theory should be super cheap for RMC to manufacture. It only features 1,500 feet of track and it basically stays on the ground the entire time, so no need for supports. So the actual track really doesn't cost RMC pretty much any money. But what does cost RMC money is the 5 trains this coaster operates with and the programming needed to run those 5 trains. So roller coaster trains are really expensive, with some trains costing upwards of $1 million each. Now we don't know for sure what the trains cost for Fire in the Hole, but I can tell you they're probably not cheap. And when you have 5 of them, the cost of those trains can really start to add up. So for these trains, we're looking in the neighborhood of $250,000 to about $500,000 per train. And when you multiply that by 5, and you get in the neighborhood of about $1.25 to $2.5 million just for trains. And then here's where the programming comes in. It's still a lot of work to program a coaster that simply runs 2 trains. And it's even harder to program a coaster with 3 trains. You have to deal with more block zones, with more trains on the track in general. But Fire in the Hole has 5 separate trains. And to run all 5 trains safely at a time, that means Fire in the Hole has to have at least 6 separate block zones, probably more like 7, maybe even 8. Now I'm not saying that's impossible or anything, but this coaster's programming and central computer and everything, it has to handle 5 trains opposed to the normal max of about 3 trains. That means it's going to cost more money, be more time consuming, and it's just going to be harder for RMC or whoever they pay to program this coaster to actually get it running efficiently and correctly. So that's partly why this coaster costs $30 million. Those 5 trains are not cheap, and the programming to make those 5 trains run is definitely not cheap either. Now I want you to take a look at this section of the POV. When you look around, there's theming on both sides, and this is pretty much done throughout the entirety of the ride. Now this theming right here probably isn't super expensive on its own, but there are multiple scenes similar to this featuring a lot of theming. Now yes, it's not the sole or even biggest reason why this coaster costs so much. We'll get to that in just a second. Now look to your left. They had to build the exterior of a fake house, and that's not a super small one either. And there are multiple of those like structures, and when you add all that up, and then you take into account all the like figures they did, you're left with a lot of expensive theming. Because someone had to make all these figures and these houses and all these like fire like screens in the rooms and stuff, that begins to add up really quickly, and all of a sudden you find yourself spending hundreds of thousands of even millions of dollars on theming alone. And then think about the people who actually have to like make those pieces of theming. You have to pay those people too. And then you gotta pay the designers who thought of all the theming and stuff, and it really just adds up for Silver Dollar City, and it really helped contribute to this $30 million price tag. And yes, I really love to see Silver Dollar City spending so much money to do really high quality, good theming. But a lot of parks choose to avoid this because it simply is really expensive. Now before we get into the main reason why Silver Dollar City's Fire in the Hole cost $30 million, I want you to take a look at this building. Now at first glance, it just looks like a normal building. But what if I told you that is the exact building that is housing this Fire in the Hole attraction? And now let me put the description of this new family coaster from Silver Dollar City on the screen right now. Now I want to give you 5 seconds to guess what the most expensive part about this coaster really is. Now that you hopefully have your guess ready, what if I told you that there's a very good chance that the most expensive part about this coaster is the building it is housed in? Now before you click off and say, what? Oh, a building? That makes no sense. Hold on, let me explain. So Silver Dollar City states that this building is 5 stories and temperature controlled, basically meaning it has AC. Now a steel building holding a roller coaster is already going to be kind of expensive. And then Silver Dollar City goes and makes it 5 stories. And even like a 2-story warehouse or building or whatever, I'm sure it's more expensive than just a single story. So they go and make it 5 stories, but then they decide to make it air conditioned, which is probably really smart. But air conditioning a massive 5-story building like that is going to be super expensive. You have to cool the entirety of the building, the queue, the station. That's going to be a super expensive AC unit. Now just keep in mind, this is not all like confirmed by Silver Dollar City or anything, but I would just speculate that the building that houses the actual coaster probably costs more than the coaster itself. And when you come to think of it, it's pretty darn crazy. And go check out Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. It opens March 30th. I'm sure it's going to be a great coaster overall with great theming, and enjoy the air-conditioned, super expensive building. And while you're at it, go find out why no one has built the RMC Wild Moose, another pretty darn good looking RMC family coaster. That's a wrap. Subscribe down below, drop a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.